The golden hue of the late afternoon sun bathed the sprawling tarmac of Dulles International Airport, casting long shadows across the glinting runways. Jet engines rumbled in the distance, their roars momentarily silenced as the heavy silence of the private hangar settled over the air. A sleek black Lincoln sedan pulled up near a parked Gulfstream G700 jet. The car door opened smoothly, and Dr. Celeste Morgan stepped out, her heels clicking softly against the concrete. She adjusted her designer sunglasses and took a breath, the kind that marks the end of a long conference and the relief of heading home. The last 3 days in Washington, D.C. had been exhausting, packed with biomedical presentations, Q&A panels, and networking with global researchers. Her cream-colored suit was perfectly tailored, matching her confident stance and calm demeanor. Her skin, a deep golden brown, glowed with health and professionalism, and her dark curls were swept into a sleek chignon at the base of her neck. She looked every bit the accomplished scientist that she was, poised, graceful, and focused. Celeste placed her structured handbag and leather briefcase neatly beside her and nodded appreciatively at the chauffeur. She took a step toward the jet, where the flight crew waited on the stairs with practiced smiles. But before she could reach them, a small airport patrol car veered off the side path and came to a sudden halt a few feet away. 2 uniformed men stepped out. The first was stocky, white, and middle-aged, with a face that seemed permanently set in a frown. The name tag above his badge read Griffin Supervisor. The second, younger and visibly less confident, had Turner pinned on his chest. They approached her with purposeful strides. "Ma'am," Griffin barked, raising a hand to halt her. "Please stop. We're conducting an additional security check." Celeste froze, blinking in confusion. Her brow creased, but her voice remained calm. "An additional check? I passed through the VIP and crew gate not 10 minutes ago. Everything was cleared. Is something wrong?" Griffin's eyes swept over her slowly, appraising her appearance in a way that felt more personal than procedural. "We've received information regarding a suspect matching your description. Possible involvement in smuggling activities." "Excuse me," she said, trying not to let the absurdity of the claim provoke her. "I'm Dr. Celeste Morgan. I'm a biomedical scientist. I've just finished a keynote at the International Cancer Genomics Summit. This is my flight home." Turner, fidgeting beside Griffin, repeated in a rehearsed tone, "Please cooperate, ma'am. This is a restricted area. Mandatory procedure." Celeste knew something was off. She had traveled countless times through major airports, both commercial and private, and she had never been stopped in this manner. Still, she was aware of her environment and what it meant to resist in a secure zone. She inhaled deeply, opened her bag, and produced her passport and digital flight confirmation from her phone. Griffin took the documents, scanning them with a mix of impatience and something darker. Turner hovered, glancing between the papers and Celeste, his expression uneasy. Several members of the flight crew watched the exchange from the stairs, their faces unreadable. What should have been a simple, respectful exchange was starting to feel like something else entirely. Dr. Celeste Morgan was not just a respected authority in biomedical research, specializing in rare oncogenes at the National Institute of Cellular Medicine. She was also married quietly, deliberate Lido Nathaniel Morgan, the current director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Their marriage, known only to a tight circle of family and senior officials, was intentionally low profile. Celeste valued her independence and professional integrity. She avoided public appearances beside her husband, choosing instead to forge her own reputation in the scientific world. While private flights and high-security accommodations were sometimes necessary due to her husband's position, Celeste never flaunted them. She preferred to stay out of the spotlight. That discretion, however, would not shield her today. Griffin flipped through her credentials slowly, his eyes never quite leaving her face or her jewelry, or the luxurious finish of her accessories. Turner leaned in, whispering, "Sir, her ID and destination don't match the intel." "It's the wrong person." Griffin's face tightened. "You should have stopped right then and there." returned her documents, let her board her plane. But something shifted in Hema's poisonous blend of resentment and opportunity. Here was a well-dressed black woman, boarding a private jet, clearly wealthy, clearly educated. In Griffin's eyes, that combination was intolerable. He had been working security for 15 years and watched people like her come and go without ever answering to anyone. This was his moment to remind Soninian that power could be wielded from even the smallest perch. He handed back her documents, but didn't budge. "Everything appears to be in order," he said flatly. "However, your initial response was somewhat defensive. That raises some concerns. You'll need to come with us for further screening." "I've done nothing wrong," Celeste replied sharply. "I provided my documents. You're detaining me without cause." Turner looked increasingly nervous, glancing toward the aircraft, then back to Griffin. "Sir, maybe we should escort her to the VIP security room," Griffin interrupted, his voice brooking no dissent. "We'll handle this properly." Celeste hesitated. She could escalate, refuse, demand superiors, make a scene, but the setting was precarious. She didn't want headlines, didn't want disruption. So she forced herself to comply, her expression now tight with restrained anger. Griffin led her into a quiet corridor, past a row of empty lounges, until they entered a small side room outfitted with 2 chairs and a table. Turner stood outside the door like a sentry. The moment the door closed, Griffin's demeanor changed. He leaned back, arms crossed, his smirk smug. "Let's not waste time. We know you're not the suspect, but you and I both know this little detour could cause complications." Celeste didn't speak. "A woman like you flying private, wearing that watch, carrying those bags would want a story like this leaking to the press, would you?" he continued. "It could raise questions, embarrass your organization. Hell, embarrass your family." She stared at him. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Griffin's smile widened. "A small token of appreciation. Call a service fee to smooth things over. You give me, say, 20 grand, or maybe that lovely ring, and I make this whole thing disappear." Celeste's lips parted in disbelief. Outside, Turner's face turned ghostly pale. He had heard every word. Inside, Griffin waited, thinking he had her cornered. But Celeste Morgan was not a woman who buckled easily. After a long, loaded silence, she stepped forward, meeting his eyes without flinching. "You have no idea who you're trying to extort," she said calmly. Griffin chuckled. "Enlighten me." "My husband is Nathaniel Morgan," she said quietly. "Director of the FBI." Silence. It was not immediate panic that overtook Griffin, it was confusion, the kind that blooms before a storm. But Turner, still outside the door, heard the name and went rigid. "FBI Director." The blood drained from Griffin's face. His breath quickened. His mouth moved, but no words came out. Celeste pulled out her phone. "I can call him. Or better yet, I can call the head of airport security. Let's see who gets here first." "Nana, wait," Griffin stammered, his hands suddenly shaking. "This is a misunderstanding." The door burst open. Turner stumbled inside. "Mom, I didn't know. I didn't know any of this, please." Neither of them noticed that Celeste had already dialed a number. "This is DR. Celeste Morgan," she said into the phone. "I'm at Dulles, VIP terminal. I've been detained without cause and subjected to an extortion attempt by 2 security officers. Names are Griffin and Turner. I need a supervisor. Now." Less than 10 minutes later, the room erupted into chaos. A flood of personnel arrived, senior airport officials, internal investigators, and a quiet agent wearing a lapel pin that marked him as FBI liaison. Griffin and Turner were stripped of their badges and credentials on the spot. They were led away, heads bowed, like common criminals. Celeste remained behind, composed and unflinching. The fallout was swift and brutal. An internal investigation by Homeland Security, assisted by the FBI, uncovered multiple complaints against Griffin, unescalated until now. His financials were questionable. His attitude documented. Turner, though less culpable, had failed to intervene. Both were terminated, arrested, and prosecuted under federal statutes, including Hobbs Act extortion and civil rights violations. The trial was quiet but devastating. Dr. Celeste Morgan testified with clarity and strength. The jury needed little time. Griffin was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Turner received 5. Justice, though never perfect, had prevailed. Celeste never spoke publicly about the incident. She returned to her research, her work, her life, but with a sharpened edge. She had faced the worst of power abused and emerged stronger. And somewhere behind prison walls, 2 men learned the hard way that arrogance, when mixed with prejudice and ignorance, can destroy everything, and that no one, not even a security supervisor on a tarmac, was above the law.